All ACC players were announced, and while 3 Tigers made the list, a couple of them were snubbed and definitely should have been on that list.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Locked On Clemson podcast. I'm your host, John Bivens. You can follow us over on X at I am John Bivens. We are a credentialed media member for the Clemson University Tigers in football, baseball, basketball, where we are bringing you post-game coverage, post-game conferences, all that. And we're bringing you a media side onto this podcast. Thanks so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast at, and over on YouTube. We are a part of the amazing Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. After you listen to this podcast, make sure to check out one of the other 200 podcasts with the network, just like the Locked On College Football or Locked On ACC show. Here on Locked On Clemson, you're getting 3 things. You're getting all sports, all passion, all the time, where we're bringing you everything you need to know regarding Clemson sports. Today is Tuesday, August 6th. We are talking about some preseason All ACC Snubs, how this year we're going to be completely different at the running back room, and some recaps of our Georgia Tech game last year. We are grateful for all of our many sponsors that make this show possible. Check out the episode notes for more on them. Hey, we want to say it is so good to be back. It feels like forever since we've been back here on the podcast. I know last week we were gone for a little bit. I went on a trip with my job, took some students on a mission trip. We had episodes every day last week, but it was those pre-recorded episodes where we had Michael and Anthony on the show. Hey, let us know if you enjoyed having them. Drop a comment, send us a message. I really want to know if you enjoyed having them or if you didn't. A very different kind of episodes last week with some different fun questions as well. Just some going through different ratings, different rankings of the ACC. If you enjoyed that kind of content, let us know. We'll provide more of that. But it's good to be back here. I've missed y'all. I've missed doing this. And so we're ready to get pumped in. It is the month of college football. We are pumped. Clemson and Georgia kick off this month, less than 4 weeks away. Get excited. I'm pumped, and I hope you are as well. But let's jump in. So earlier on this year, or this week, a couple of days ago, we had the All ACC preseason awards were given out. And while there were some decent ones on there, there were some that was like, really, they made the list. We were able to be on that voting. We voted for those All ACC preseason list. We voted in that because we were credentialed media out at the media day, media week in Charlotte early on. That was exciting. But I will say this: a lot of our votes didn't make it in, and I don't know if that's just because we're terrible. No, we're not terrible. It's just I disagree with a lot of the options. So I'm going to quickly read through who made the 2024 preseason All ACC football team, because I'll let you know this. 3 Clemson Tigers made it, but 2 more 100% should have made it. So quarterback was Cam Ward with Miami. I get that for sure. Amarion Hampton from North Carolina, Jaden Ott from Cal, Casey Concepcion from NC State, Xavier Respro, Miami, Alec Minor, Stanford, Oronde Gadsden, the second, Syracuse, Jaden Ott, Cal, Darius Washington, Blake Miller from Clemson, our only offensive guy, Willie Lampkin, Michael Gonzalez, and Maurice Smith. And then on the defensive side, Ashton Gillette, Reuben Bain, Joshua Farmer, Anus Pebbles, Barrett Carter from Clemson. He had the most votes out of any single position out of anyone. He had 129 votes for him to make the linebacker poll. The next highest was Casey Concepcion from wide receiver from NC State. But keep it going, Francisco Moego from Miami, Marlo Wax, Syracuse, Dorian Strong, Virginia Tech, Aiden White, NC State, Jonas Sanker, Virginia, and RJ Mickens from Clemson. On the special team side, Andres Barragales from Miami, Alex Mastromano from Florida State, and Brashard Smith from SMU. So that is where they are right now. That is the list. And I'm so glad that Clemson had a couple players on there. Blake Miller is 100% deserving of that, the offensive tackle role there. He is definitely going to be a game changer this year on the offensive side, both in a leadership role and a player personnel role. As far as a skill level, he deserves to have those there. Obviously, Barrett Carter, most received votes players out of anyone, definitely deserve that. They won 100%. He needs to be there. I think he's got a chance to be the best player in the defense on the defensive side in the nation this year. He's going to have a great year. And then RJ Mickens, a lot of people say he shouldn't have been on there. I disagree. I think he rightfully earned his spot. Barrett Carter, like we said, the most votes out of anyone. RJ Mickens had the second least votes out of anyone. Alec Amainer from Stanford, wide receiver, had the overall least amount of votes of 42. RJ Mickens only had 43. That's not counting our special teams player or Brashard Smith. But yeah, so either way, they had 3 players there. And here's the thing: they missed out on 2 of them. And here's the 2 they missed out on. Number 1 was running back. Phil Mafah 100% should have been on this role. I get why he's not. I get their argument that he's not is he hasn't been the starting running back before. He shared load last year with Will Shipley. We haven't seen him as the RB1 specifically roll a lot, except for a couple times due to injuries. So I get that argument. I get that kind of point of view, that perspective. But at the same time, everyone knows he's going to be electric this year. Everyone knows he's going to be excellent this year. So he deserves to have that role. Omarion Hampton, I get why he's up there. He 100% deserves it. But Jaden Ott from California, I disagree with that one. I disagree. I don't think he should have been in that spot. I know last year he led the Pac-12 with rushing yards per game with almost 110. All-purpose yards, he had almost 136. He had 135 last year, which I get that. And granted, all those are both top 10 in FBS football, 100%. I don't think he deserved that role. I think Phil Mafah should have had that there. I think he would have been better up there with that. So I think Phil Mafah should have been there. I think he got snubbed. But then another player that I think was snubbed was Peter Woods. Peter Woods is going to be on fire this year. He's going to lead an electric Clemson defensive line. He's just switched positions, but he's going to play all over. He'll play some defensive end and defensive tackle. He's going to be great. And he deserves that role. He deserves to be up there. I think he should have made it. Ashton Gillette from Louisville, I understand that one, but I 100% would put him above Ruben Bain from Miami. Even if you move the defensive tackle, I think he's above Anias Pebbles from Virginia Tech. Joshua Farmer, I could see them up there. But, yeah, Peter Woods deserves to be on this list. Phil Mafah deserves to be on this list. And let me be real. Here's the real one that I think was a little bit snubbed this year. You ready? I think that Robert Gunn should have been the kicker. No, I'm just kidding. He didn't deserve that. That was a joke. But, yeah, Robert Gunn does not deserve that. Maybe after this year. Maybe he just comes alive and doesn't miss a field goal all year. That would be amazing. I wouldn't know what to do with myself if we had a solid kicker this year. We didn't last year. But anyway, that's beside the point. So super happy for Blake Miller. Happy for Barrett Carter. Happy for RJ Mickens. Phil Mafah, I feel bad for. Maybe a lot of fire, come out even more motivated. Same with Peter Woods. But that's the all preseason, all ACC list, and the 2 that were snubbed from Clemson University. When we get back talking about Phil Mafah, he gave some great comments yesterday after the first day of camp with full pads. So we're going to hear his comments all about all things Clemson when we take a quick break. We'll be back in just a second.
This episode of Locked On Clemson is brought to you by FanDuel. Guess what, guys? I love sports. I love them so much, I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. Whew, man, FanDuel has got you covered. FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app, dream up some bets anytime I'm in the mood. I'm telling you guys, it's at your leisure. You can be laying on the couch, twinkling your little toes, and you say, you know what? I want to drop a bet in this bad boy right now. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. Yes, every single day. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is the official sportsbook betting partner of Major League Baseball.
Thank you so much for making the Locked On Clemson your first listen today. Now go check out one of the many Locked On Network shows, just like the Locked On College Football podcast. From NIL deals to never-ending conference realignment rumors, Spencer McLaughlin leaves you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron. You can find that over on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast, but that is some great material. He has some great stuff over there, and he is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. But here on Locked On Clemson, we're going to continue this conversation going. Phil Mafah, he got snubbed. He should have been on the preseason All ACC team 100%. He should have been on it. That's just plain out. I don't know how else to say that. But let's dive into some encouraging part. Yesterday, he had a long interview with the media personnel at Clemson after their first day with pads, in my opinion. Yesterday kicked off truly Clemson football. I know practice or fall camp started last week, but this week started off full pads, so excited to see that. And he had some great comments. He had some great interviews, and some of the things he talked about was just how different the room's going to look like. Let's break it down. Last year, our running back room was a definitely two-headed monster. Will Shipley got a lot of reps. Phil Mafah got a lot of reps. They kind of balanced it out. Some games one would have more than the other. Some games the other would have more. It just kind of bounced back and forth. This year is going to be majorly different. This year, I mean, it is going to be crazily different. There's going to be so much difference on the board with it when it comes to the running back room. And it's because Will Shipley's gone. Will Shipley's playing for my Birds. Fly, Eagles, fly. Got drafted for him. Hopefully he'll see some playing time. But this year, our running backs are as strong. It definitely goes. Last year was RB1, RB2. This year's RB1, RB2, RB3, RB4, right? So I definitely think we're going to see much, much different playing style there, much different kind of what's going to happen, what's going to show up. So Phil Mafah had some stuff to talk about. He talked about how that's going to be different. He talked about his carries. Dabo Swinney has publicly said you can expect Phil Mafah for his carries per game to be over 15. That's different. That's much different than last year. Last year, Will Shipley and Phil Mafah both didn't see that every game. So excited to see him truly get the reps that he wants, get the reps that he deserves. I think we're going to see a completely different side. He's going to show the athleticism, show the powerful moves that he has, but he's going to show that he's an every down back. He's a down 1 through 4. He doesn't need to be on field or he doesn't need to sit because it's third down or because it's first down or because it's pass catching. He can be a part of all of it. So I'm excited to see that. He also talked about the running back room. Outside of Phil Mafah, we have a very young running back room. Phil Mafah is a senior, but then after him, we've got 4 other running backs that are range from freshman to redshirt sophomore as the oldest. So you've got Jay Haynes, who's a redshirt freshman, Keith Adams Jr., a redshirt sophomore, Jarvis Green, a redshirt freshman, and then David Izumi, who is a freshman this year as well. So I think all those players are going to be exciting. I think they're all going to have some impact later on, maybe not as much this year, but Phil Mafah talked about them, and he really spoke extremely high of them. He talked about how all these players have progressed greatly, how they've grown a lot in the offseason, talked about how in spring camp to now he's seen growth in maturity, he's seen growth in the ability to make plays, how he really spoke high of Jay Haynes. It looks right now, Jay Haynes is going to be our RB2, and he's electric. He's quick. He's more of a Will Shipley back, but more honestly, he's more of that slimmer side, more of like a utility guy, pass catcher, elusive back. Phil Mafah is more of that power back. Will Shipley is more of like a utility back where he kind of could play power back, but he also could play that elusive. And now you got Jay Haynes who's coming, maybe that receiver elusiveness back. He's kind of quick. He's got a smaller frame, smaller build. He's got a lot of speed, a lot of pass catching. And Phil Mafah talks about that. He said you can expect to see more of Jay Haynes this year because he can catch the ball. He can play in pass catching. He can play a lot. Last year we saw a lot of Kade Klubnik in the shotgun with Will Shipley on one side and Phil Mafah on the other. I don't think we'll see that as much this year, but I definitely could see Jay Haynes and Phil Mafah doing that some, because then you got Phil Mafah as a little check down pass on the right side, but then Jay Haynes running a little curl or a wheel route, being able to get open, use that speed, use those hands. That's exciting. I think that's an underrated combination with Mafah and Haynes there. So Phil Mafah talked about him and talked about how he's exciting that he's coming back. He did miss a lot of the spring with an injury. So this fall camp is really his first time playing with the team, practicing with the team, getting in some reps. I think he's going to be electric. He's going to be a great addition to this team. He also talked about David, the freshman this year. That was one that Phil Mafah, one thing I like about Phil is he's very honest, but he's honest in a way that doesn't put people down. He's honest in a way that's very truthful, but it's also like, let's be real. And so when he's talking about David, he talked high praise. He talked about how talented he is, about the potential that he has, about what's going to happen, all that kind of stuff. So he talked up. He definitely spoke high of him, but he was real and talked about how he's got some maturing to do. He talked about him and a lot of the freshmen. Clemson, when you look at the potential depth chart for Clemson, on the offensive side alone, you've got 7 freshmen ranking from number 2 in the depth chart all the way down to number 5 in the running back room. So you've got a lot of freshmen there. And he talked about how David and the other freshmen, they're slowly getting used to the pace of the game. Here's the thing I hope most people thought about, but I want to break it down truly for you. When you're in high school, you usually have, when you're playing a game, maybe one player that's better than the rest, and the rest of them are just average. You got your average high school players, but one player on there is truly special. Well, college is all those special players playing on the field. So now it went from you are the star player to now you're playing with all the other star players. They're truly big fish, little pond to big pond, big fish, right? College level, then you have star players that exceed out of them that go to the NFL. So you have medium fish. It really is, high school has a medium fish in a small pond. College has a big fish in a medium pond. And NFL is all big fish swimming together. There's a huge change at those levels. When you get into college from the high school level, the game is so much more faster. It's more competitive. It's more physical, harder hits, faster plays, faster speed from players. And that's a big adjustment. That takes a big steps to go from the high school level to the college level. And Phil Mafah said that David, he's grown. The difference he's seen him from spring to now, he's seen more maturity. He's seen more growth. He's seen him coming into his own a little bit more. But he talked about how he's getting used to that pace of play, but it's still a big adjustment going, increasing that, getting back to the use to that pace of the play, the pace of the speed of the game that college has. So he talked about that. He had some great comments. He was, like I said, he was honest, but he was never talking people down regarding that. And then overall, he was talking about how he had faith. They asked him, what was your faith in the running back room? Do you feel good about it? And he was super excited about it. He talked about how he's ready to be the lead back, but he also talked about how it's always good to have other running backs in the room, to have other options, to have people making him better, him making other people play better. And I think that's exactly what's happening. Jay Haynes was asked about playing with Phil Mafah, and he talked about it. He said, look, I love being here. I love playing with Phil Mafah because Phil teaches him different plays. He teaches him different school tool sets, and he loves how Phil Mafah took Jay Haynes under his wing. So I love to see that. I love that relationship. And overall, Mafah's comments got me really encouraged because I knew Mafah, I never had a doubt. Phil is going to be someone we can trust day in, day out, every single week to be productive at that running back spot. I was worried about what happens I was worried about what happens if, God forbid, he gets hurt or if he gets tired and he runs for a really big play, if we have someone else that can come in and let Phil take a quick break. I was worried about that, but his comments and what Dabo's talked about the running back room, what Coach Spiller's talked about the running back room, it makes me encouraged. It's honestly, I think we got some stuff to be encouraged about our running back room, but exciting stuff. Can't wait to see what's going to happen. But with all that being said, let's move that. We're going to take one more quick break and we'll come back and talk about another segment. But be excited. Our running back room is looking solid. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need, and all the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back to the Locked On Clemson podcast. We are so glad you're here. Thanks for making us your first listen, and we appreciate all of our everydayers. We appreciate all of you who jump in and listen to every episode, are a part of our community. If you're looking for a way to be better a part of our community and more in touch, more dive deeper into the Locked On Clemson podcast, make sure you join our Locked On Clemson Insider program. What that is it is an opportunity for you to connect with us even on a deeper level. You subscribe and it gives you benefits like a one-on-one chat with me, how anytime, any day, you can text me, messages, anything like that, and we will respond. You can send in questions or comments that we'll address on the show, but you also receive bonus episodes. We have episodes that are only available to our insiders, such as film studies, as well as just answering questions, mailbag episodes, all that kind of stuff. So make sure you become a Locked On Insider by texting Clemson to 864-252-1907. Clemson to 864-252-1907. 14 days for free to try it out, and then you can subscribe for not much at all. So make sure you join that. But let's continue on in the show. So as season is getting closer and closer, we are almost at the end point of our series where we are going through this offseason and we are watching a full game from last year throughout the season. We've watched so many so far. We've broke down all the different games, and we are on game 10 from Clemson season last year. And what we're doing, the point is not just to talk about the past, but the point is truly to go through and talk about what the difference is, talk about what's happening, talk about overall just what can we learn from last year's games. I am a firm believer that lessons are found in the past. If you look at the past, you'll find lessons for the future. So we're going through these games and we're finding what can we see from last year's game or last year's teams in each game, and what does that say about this year's team. And so we're talking about the Georgia Tech game this week, game 10 of last year. This was game 2 of a 5-game winning streak to end the rest of the season. Clemson did win this, making their 6th victory of the season, 42-21. Before we dive into box scores, we'll go ahead and let you know this. It showed us two things. It showed us two things about this year's team. Number one, it showed us that we have star caliber players. Sometimes people doubt that, but Clemson has, not even count our freshmen, has players right now that have star caliber to make a difference. The second thing it showed us is that Kade can have success, but he's got to stay focused when he does. We'll talk about that more, but let's just go through the box score. Clemson started off behind. Georgia Tech scored 7-0. And then second quarter, Clemson went on a run. They scored 21 unanswered points in the second quarter. My opinion, it should have been more. Late in the second quarter, they picked them off with 40-something seconds left. We got the ball back on like the 45-yard line. You got 40-something seconds left. 45 yards with a couple timeouts. You at least got to get a field goal. So it should have went up 24-7.5, but we went up 21-7. Jay Haynes had a 4-yard touchdown run. In the first quarter for Georgia Tech. Then in Clemson, in the second quarter, Bo Collins made a great catch off a great throw, back shoulder throw from Kade Klubnik in the end zone, little 5-yard pass. Later on, talking about the star player, Tyler Brown made an OBJ catch. I don't know if y'all remember this, but it's third down. I think it was third down, first and goal or third and goal on the 3-yard line. Kade rolls out to the right, throws it up, and Tyler Brown, falling backwards, grabs with one hand, pulls it in, makes the grab for a touchdown. Star player. That's one. That's a star player move right there. Later on in the second quarter, Will Shipley had a great 32-yard run for a touchdown. In the third quarter, Clemson kept it up. And on the 5-yard line, Kade Klubnik made probably the best pass he threw last year. He threw one through a window. He might have had 6 inches of room. I mean, he had a tight window, snuck it in, hit Jake Brennan-School running across the back of the end zone for a great catch for a touchdown. outstanding. Made a huge successful play, was an amazing play overall. Got to be happy with the throw he made. But here's the problem. Their very next possession, our defense went out, had a great stop. Very next possession, Kade Klubnik came around, threw a terrible throw for an interception. And that's where the second thing that this showed us. This game showed us Kade Klubnik made an amazing throw with that touchdown pass. The very next possession, he tried to force things. He tried to force a bunch of stuff. This one, it was a crossing route across the middle, and instead of leading him, instead of throwing it ahead of the receiver, crossing across, he threw it behind him, underneath, and I believe there was a cornerback running with him, snuck in front, jumped the route, and picked it off. 100% on Kade. The cornerback made a great throw play, but Kade 100% caused that interception. He had a successful play, lost his focus, and then made a terrible throw. That's what we got to work on. Kade, that's what Cade's got to improve on, not the dumb mistakes. And when you have successful moments, when you have great moments, keep that going. Keep that momentum going. So got to see that increase. But in the third quarter, we took a 28-7 lead. Fourth quarter kept that going hot. Josh Sapp caught a touchdown pass from Kade Klubnik, go up 35-7. And then later on, Shelton Lewis had a 46-yard pick six to go up 42-7. Quickly following that, Georgia Tech scored with a 32-yard pass, and then later on in garbage time, had another 4-yard touchdown pass with 1 minute and 40 seconds left. So Clemson won the game 42-21. Our defense stepped up this game. We had a total of 4 interceptions. Haynes King, the quarterback for Georgia Tech, went 13 for 31, 129 yards, but he had two touchdowns and 4 interceptions. His QBR was a whopping 11. Love to see that from on the defensive side. That was awesome. Rushing game, Jamal Haynes. He's a great player. Overall great player. 15 carries for 104 yards. Didn't have a touchdown, though. We allowed 1 rushing touchdown that was by the quarterback. Their leading receiver was Christian Leary, 2 receptions for 41 yards. Didn't have any fumbles on the defensive side. Overall, wasn't anything too big to talk about, nothing too exciting. Jalen King had their only interception. That one we were talking about, that was all on Kade. On Clemson's side, Kade Klubnik didn't have a terrible day. He went 23 for 34, 205 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. QBR rating of 78.5. Phil Mafah actually had a pass attempt in this game as well. Went 0 for 1, but it's all right. Hunter Helms got in later on with 0 for 2. Didn't have a completion there. Rushing wise, had a good game. We had our two back game was going well. Phil Mafah had 17 carries for 96 yards. Will Shipley had 11 carries for 77 yards and a touchdown. Receiving wise, we really had a split receiving room as well too. Bo Collins had a touchdown with 65 yards. Tyler Brown a touchdown with 41 yards. Brennan Stool 27 yards and a touchdown. Will Shipley also had 3 receptions for 30 yards. Phil Mafah had a 19-yard reception. And then 2 more players got in there as well. So overall, very wide receiving room. Like to see that as well. On defense, here's the star players we were talking about. Jeremiah Trotter, he's gone, but he had a great day. Khalil Barnes had a good day as well. He had 2 tackles for a loss, 3 solo tackles. DeMonte Capehart, who we're going to see a lot this year, had a sack and 4 tackles. RJ Mickens had 3 tackles. And overall, it was a great play. Great year. We had 4 sacks this game. Jeremiah Trotter, DeMonte Capehart, Wade Woodhouse had a sack, and then Justin Maskell. Interceptions. We had 4 interceptions by 4 different players. Shelton Lewis, Khalil Barnes, Kylan Griffin, and Avion Terrell had an amazing interception on the sidelines, getting drugged down. Love to see that. We didn't have any fumbles this game. I know, crazy to think about, but no fumbles this game. Our kicking, Jonathan White's missed his only field goal attempt, 0 for 1. Love to see that. And then he did go perfect from the extra point, though. And then punting, Aiden Swanson, who's an amazing punter, had 3 punts for 118 yards total, only 39 average, but he was great, had a good one, had a good yard. But that was the game. Again, what can we learn from this game? Like we said, 1, encouraging. We have the star power to do really well. 2, Cade's got to stay focused. Don't let a successful play end up with a mistake. Stay focused, stay locked in. Let a successful play lead to another one. That's what we can learn from about this year's team from last year's game. But with all that being said, that is going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Clemson podcast. Again, thank you for making Locked On Clemson your first listen. Now go check out Locked On Clemson, Locked On College Football podcast as your second listen. Spencer's doing a great job over there. Make sure you check out that show. But this week, we're going to continue diving in on this football part. We're excited. Again, month of football is happening. Clemson kicks off this year. We're going to talk about things like position breakdowns, Clemson versus Georgia, who has the edge at all the positions, and so much more. Make sure you join our Locked On Insider program by texting Clemson 864-252-1907 and let us know your thoughts on today's topics. Reach out to a Twitter, drop a comment, send us a message to us. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are and everything we talked about. If you haven't, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast wherever you get your podcast at, or if you're watching us over on YouTube, hit that subscribe button there. That way, every day we can be your first listen here on Locked On Clemson podcast. Make sure to check out all other podcasts from Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. We can't wait to see you on tomorrow on the next episode of this podcast. But until then, keep that Tiger pride alive and roaring. And as always, go Tigers.